George Washington Carver's years at Tuskegee. After graduation, George got an exciting offer. Booker T. Washington, a leader of the African American community and the head of the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, had asked George to take charge of the school's agricultural department. George was thrilled. Tuskegee was an all-black school dedicated to teaching black people the skills they needed to rise out of poverty.
Anything will give up its secrets if you love it enough. Not only have I found that out when I talk to the little flower or to the little peanut, they will give up their secrets. But I have found that out when I silently commune with people. They will give up their secrets also, if you love them enough.
At Tuskegee, George dedicated himself to teaching classes and conducting agricultural research. His discoveries helped all Southern farmers, both black and white. Many of the Southern farms had grown cotton for quite a few years. At first, the cotton plants grew well and the farmers earned a good living from them. But as the years went on, the cotton plants became stunted. They produced less cotton, and farmers were no longer able to earn a good living from their crops. George discovered why. Over the years, the cotton plants had drained all of the nutrients out of the soil. So, the soil in the farmers' fields produced less and less cotton. George and his students realized that before the farmers could successfully grow cotton again, they would first have to rotate their crops. This meant that the farmers had to grow crops that would restore nutrients to the farmland before they planted cotton again. George's research led him to believe that soybeans, cowpeas, and sweet potatoes would do the trick. These plants both enriched the soil and allowed it to rest while the new plants grew. The Southern farmers weren't so sure, but George had a great reputation, so they gave his plan a try and grew other crops for a year.
Where there is no vision, there is no hope.
The next year, cotton was planted again and the plants thrived. Now, by rotating their crops, farmers knew that they could successfully grow soybeans, cowpeas, sweet potatoes, and cotton. For a while, Southern farmers went back to having successful businesses. Then, one year, disaster hit the Southern cotton crops. A type of worm called the boll weevil had eaten its way through cotton fields across the South. Farmers were afraid that without their cotton crops to sell, they wouldn't be able to feed their families. Once again, they called on George to help them. Luckily, George Carver had a solution. He told the farmers to plant peanuts instead. Carver knew that the boll weevils didn't like peanut plants, so they wouldn't eat the leaves. The farmers were unsure at that time. They thought peanuts were only good for feeding animals. How would they make enough money off peanut crops? George took some peanut plants and went back to his laboratory. He experimented with chemically separating the parts of the peanut and putting them back together anew in different ways. This allowed George to create many new products, including cheese, margarine, cooking oil, and dyes for clothing. Carver was eager to share what he had discovered with the farmers of the South. He wasn't interested in getting rich. He was only interested in helping farmers to be successful in growing and selling their peanut crops. The farmers were amazed at what George had discovered. His work helped all farmers of the South to be successful. Let's review what we have learned about George's years at the Tuskegee Institute. Question 1. Which African American leader convinced George Washington Carver to go to the Tuskegee Institute? A. Harriet Tubman. B. Booker T. Washington. C. Frederick Douglass. D. Nat Turner. If you answered B, you know that Booker T. Washington convinced George Carver to go to the Tuskegee Institute. Question 2. Why did George suggest that Southern farmers rotate their crops? A. It would allow the soil to rest and regain nutrients. B. It would allow their families to eat different types of food. C. It would allow farm animals to have healthier diets. D. B, and C. The correct answer is A. Crop rotation allows soil to rest and regain nutrients. Question 3. What product did George Washington Carver create from peanuts? A. Cheese. B. Dyes. C. Cooking oil. D. All of the above. The correct answer is D. Carver created cheese, dyes, and cooking oil from peanuts.